This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland. Watch it now on Prime Video.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Look, if you had one shot to sit on your lazy butt.
Matt, we are officially in the 2000s.
Happy 2000s, everybody.
Happy 2000s. We're talking about Poodle Hat. I didn't do as much of a deep dive as I normally do on the album stuff. Just because I'm like, who really cares the order in which the songs are recorded but you and I? Those all like kind of come up organically on the episodes anyway. But
I suppose they will. I suppose they will come up organically. Who really? I like that. I don't know. Listeners, do people really care? We'll find out.
But there's two noteworthy things about this album that I think we do need to mention.
Yeah.
One of them is that Poodle Hat was once again an enhanced CD. A relic of the album days. This one had bonus content that included alternative song mixes, short videos, and a photo gallery when you put it in there. And critics were not a big fan of this one. A lot of them felt like this was an artistic misstep for Yankovic, but others enjoyed the skewering of the 2000s pop culture. But this won the Grammy for Best Comedy Album, and it was his first Grammy win since 1988, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
Because playing my hand early right now, my memories of Poodle Hat, and I think that this will still be the case when we finish Poodle Hat, is that Running with Scissors, Bad Hair Day, and Off the Deep End are all dramatically better than this album.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I that's my memory as well. But also, I think it's worth noting because, you know, we've talked so much about age with these records and how they come out at a certain time where the music really resonates. And we've made the joke a million times about how, like, Al is made, in a lot of ways, Al records are made for, like, 10-year-old boys. Yeah, and then it expands from there, and you know, sometimes you stay on, and so anyway, this record came out in 2002, and I was 16 years old, this is the first record that came out where I will admit it, when this album came out, I was right at the point where I was feeling a little bit too cool for this.
Same. I did not. Well, and we're gonna dive into it with this song, but not for nothing. There wasn't a whole lot to promote this album even coming out.
Well, yeah, that's going to be a big topic on this track specifically, but I also remember at being 16 and hearing this song and not loving it.
Yeah.
And now in hindsight, looking at the whole track listing, I feel like because of that, I initially missed out on some solid stuff that is on this record that I didn't really give proper attention to because I was at the absolute height of my punk ska kid phase. And this parody of Lose Yourself, which was already like one of the most overplayed and even spoofed songs in the world.
Yeah.
It just didn't speak to me. It didn't make me want to look further on this record, which is a shame, honestly.
Well, there's another reason why it took so long for Al to win a Grammy at this time. So the last Grammy award he had was for the music video Fat, which was nominated for the best concept music video. But from 1993 until 2003, the Grammy Award for Comedy Album had been literally changed to the Grammy Award for Spoken Word Comedy, which literally made all of Al's albums ineligible for that category. So I don't even think he was able to be nominated for comedy stuff for
That's crazy.
Almost a decade. I kind of agree with you. This is not to me, this was not a great 2002 reintroduction of Weird Al song that we're about to talk about. I like it more now than I did in 2002, but you're right. There had already been, this was like the first big Al versus the internet where there were so many Lose Yourself parodies already out there.
Yeah.
And what I think we're going to land, this is my early prediction going into this. And honestly, based on how, when we did Running with Scissors, someone wanted to do almost every single track.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 songs on this album that are parodies that people wanted to talk about. Everything else, people wanted to talk about the originals. I think that we're going to talk about an album, possibly the biggest example of this, where the originals just are so heads and tails better than a lot of the parody output on the album. And that's not to discount, like there's at least one parody on this album that is among my favorite Al parodies of all time. But in general, like this is the first album that we've done in a really long time where like I have to sit down and re-listen to the songs because they left such a, especially on the parodies, left such a shrug emoji emotion to me over the years when listening to it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And also I noted this when I was just looking up this track. This is the lead single off of this album. This album won a Grammy for Best Comedy Album. This is the lead single. Again, we're going to talk about the music video side of things shortly. But this song is so forgotten and so unappreciated. Like, Al, they put out the Essential Weird Al Yankovic, another one of the compilation sort of records in 2009. Yeah. This isn't even on that. Yeah. It's not even, it didn't even make a greatest hits from him. They put on that same compilation, they put Hardware Store and Bob and eBay, but not this song, the lead single. And I think that does speak to the extent to which this just did not ultimately resonate with people. And I mean, look, Lose Yourself is still, we're talking about Lose Yourself being a song that people parody. My God, I still hear people do this to this day. Lose Yourself is, because that guitar riff is so simple, it's so straightforward. I have heard bands go on stage. Brendan from Wheatus has played the Lose Yourself riff on stage as like a goof for an audience, and the crowd like laughs and because it's so immediately iconic.
Well, there's a video of me in a band covering Lose Yourself.
I mean, yeah.
It was like, so I've been learning lately that my high school experience was very unlike a lot of other people's high school experiences. I actually someone found and gave me a DVD of all of the short films that I made for the morning announcements my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. And like showing them to Barb, she was just like, your school was weird, man. But we had a thing called the junior picnic. And the way that the junior picnic worked every single year was that for the kids who were juniors, it was like a half day. Like you went to class for the first half of the day, and then the second half of the day was like hanging out in the cafeteria and kind of like laid back, and always one of the bands at our high school would play the junior picnic. And basically my junior picnic situation was in 2003. So like the peak of this song, the peak of Lose Yourself still being in like the public consciousness.
Sure, yeah.
This other band was playing, and I was at that point, this is such an embarrassing sentence to say out loud, I was known as the rapper at the school. So they were like, hey, can we kick off the set with you doing the first verse and chorus of Lose Yourself? And then, they went into like My Own Worst Enemy or something from that. Like, it was just a very 90s punk and alternative set from that point on. But yeah, it was kind of also, we talk about like, there were those rap songs that still just were unavoidable, even if you were like the suburban white kid not listening to rap music, and this was a big one of those.
I mean, this is a perfect, we talked about it on the last record with It's All About the Pentiums being a really great crossover song, and it's worth reminding people once again that in the 90s to the 2000s, like, rap songs, generally speaking, were relegated to a different part of radio and a different part of culture to pop radio, and if you had a rap song that crossed over to pop radio, that was no small feat. That was you really had something there if it was a mega hit that everyone liked. And Lose Yourself in the world of that is at the absolute top of that list. I mean, this like one of the only times I can remember like a rap song where like moms and dads were like, "Isn't this great?" Like what a great song with a wonderful message, and it's so fun and it's a catchy chorus that people immediately, you can hear it one time and sing along to it. But it's a rap, like, it's a hook, but it is a rapped hook. There's no singing in this song. There is no actual melodic refrain. It is, again, also at this moment in time, I just like listening to this song again, I had to reflect on just how unbelievably, enormously important Eminem was.
Well, that was the thing I was going to say. My first experience to Eminem, and like only in retrospect did I look back and be like, well, that was weird, was that they were playing My Name Is on the alternative rock station. And like, there is no reason for that to be on the alternative rock station except for two reasons. One, he was a white guy.
A white guy, absolutely.
And B, he referenced Nine Inch Nails and Primus in the edited version of the song. Those are the only two reasons that I could understand why this song was being played on like the station that exclusively was playing Nirvana and like Stone Temple Pilots and like Blink-182.
Yeah. No, there is absolutely, I mean, he was a white guy making white references.
Yeah,
which made a big difference at this moment in time.
Well,
and again,
I always think of the Beastie Boys quote from Run DMC, where he was like, "The Beastie Boys never pretended to be black guys.
Correct.
They rapped about White Castle and Heineken beers and like white guy shit."
And generally speaking, especially on those early records, Eminem was doing the exact same thing. He was coming in and rapping about being a poor white guy from Detroit, and he managed to do it with incredible skill, and he had the support and like blessing of Dr. Dre and these other heavy hitters in the industry who were like, this is legit, like, believe this. And it worked, and it absolutely worked. And I think at this point in time, you can't give Eminem enough credit. I mean, the Beastie Boys as well, there's a generation before, but you can't give Eminem enough credit for completely obliterating the wall that existed between white and black culture in the world of hip-hop music. Like, it is... Eminem is now regularly talked about in the conversation of the greatest of all time, and no one is considering his race in that conversation. It is purely about his skill as a lyricist.
And unlike another Detroit rapper claiming to be poor, Eminem actually did grow up poor, which is exciting.
He really, really did. And then and had enough of a story that they made a movie about his life, which is what this is. I mean, it was an amazing story. But I mean, those first three records he made, Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, and then Eminem Show, and then 8 Mile, I mean, that was...
Their unbelievable run. It's an unbelievable run of great records.
And you know what? Eminem since then has made a tremendous amount of missteps. And even the stuff that now he puts out that people are like, oh, this is pretty solid and it's a great throwback. I'm like, it's fine. I've heard a handful of newer songs that I think are okay. But it's just, to me, a lot of the magic has been lost since he, since he got really famous, and then since he got addicted to drugs, and then since he got sober. And it's just... It's
a couple factors too, though, because I think the Eminem shtick, to a certain extent, like, you're not going to have massive hit. Like, so much of the early Eminem stuff was like, not only is this dude talented, but he's got that Howard Stern level of shock value to it, which, like, when you get to a certain age, it stops feeling shocking and starts to feel like old man out of touch.
Yes.
In a weird way. And, like, Eminem is, I feel like the last couple albums has been him trying to find where his place is. That's like not the shock guy, but also like the guy who is woke and also is the guy who's not as problematic as you might think. Like, I feel like he's at loss for who his identity is. And the only times where he puts out a banger is when he just goes back to the basics of bragging about how damn good he is at rapping.
And that's the thing, is even on songs that are not like, honestly, a lot of the problem I have with the more recent stuff is I like the hooks are not good enough. Like,
His hooks are really bad.
I really don't like the hooks on those tracks. And you know what? Lose Yourself is a great example. It does not have a melodic hook. It is just him rapping through this track, and it works, and it's great. And I feel like, I don't know if it's him or some people in his life, producers, whatever, who are encouraging him to bring in guest vocalists to do these hooks for him. But I was like, man, this is not your strength. But having said that,
it's more of a strength than like one of his worst albums, in my opinion, is I think it's Recovery, where he sings all of the choruses and hooks on that album, and it is like
Relapse and
rough.
Recovery are horrifying.
It's like the Marshall Mathers LP 2 actually has some really good songs.
It has a couple solid moments in it, but then there's other things that happen that I'm just cringing through. And those first 3 records, I just didn't feel that way about anything on them. Anyway, all of this is to say that, and I think a huge part of what makes this song for me not really work is that, I don't know if you did this, but I haven't put on Lose Yourself in a really long time, because who needs to? It's just around constantly. It feels like one of those songs that, like, you're just going to hear it in the world at some point soon, so why bother? But I listened to the two of them comparatively, and Lose Yourself still has such a really unbelievable intensity and impressiveness to it. The way that he delivers those verses is really amazing. Like, it's an incredible piece of writing. It's incredible production. The track, the whole thing is glorious. And I know that Eminem went into this and was like, we've heard him say before, some of his favorite things to parody are things that are self-important, because it's easy to then make fun of them. It's harder to make fun of something that's already self-aware. But
it's a self-important misstep, because you have to compare it. You have to compare it to Gangster's Paradise to Amish Paradise, right? Uh-huh. And that is such taking the gangster lifestyle and applying it to something as bland and wholesome as Amish lifestyle is such a brilliant juxtaposition. And taking a song that's about, like, literally pulling yourself up from the absolute worst living conditions you've ever could imagine, and, like, never giving up to become something. Just turning that into a song about watching TV just feels like he didn't have an idea for it, but felt like he had to do something.
He felt like he had to do something.
Well.
Exactly. Yeah. He felt like he had to do something with this because it was too big a track to not parody. I completely get that. From the jump, the first line of the first verse of this song, what does Al reference? The Flintstones.
The Flintstones. Good,
which he
good
has done. He has done it. Like, to take something that feels so vital and so incredibly important, like Eminem is just like, this is his life story in a song, and he is spitting it like his life depends on it. And Al comes out the gate with a Flintstones reference that he's done it. It just, to me, immediately, I'm just like, this is by the numbers. Unfortunately, like, this is not you. Al does not have the same intensity. And I know that, I'm sure part of the joke is that it's like, he's trying to put that intensity into something about something that's not important. Like, that's the juxtaposition of those two things is the joke of the song. But it doesn't land for me in this track. It just doesn't land.
A lot of the jokes don't land. A lot of the references are, like, insanely dated. Like, you'll never hear me complaining about a Muppets reference, but this Muppets reference is so outdated in this
It's a weirdly
song.
outdated Muppets reference. We get 2 pretty cringy gay jokes. Yeah. It's just not. I mean, it just feels like a little bit paint by numbers for Al, which is really unusual for him. He has done many, many songs about television that, despite having done them before, still feel like he's got something exciting to say, or like he's trying to hit a new piece of terrain with it. And I just don't feel that with this song at all.
This isn't even as exciting or cohesive or feels like it's sending out a message the way that, like, I Can't Watch This did.
I Can't Watch This is a better TV song than this. Absolutely. Yeah. He
like
raps
100%.
Better. Honestly, I think
it.
his performance, his vocal performance is better, and I Can't Watch This.
So we've talked about this before, where when White and Nerdy came out, everyone was like startled that Weird Al could rap.
Yeah.
And I think it's because this was their last rap song that they heard Al do, and it sounds forced. It sounds uncomfortable. I feel bad. I feel like this is going to be the album more than almost any other album where we, especially when it comes to the parodies, are not punching down, but like that we
just can't punch down on Al.
No, you can't.
We're
punch
definitely
down
not
on
above Al.
But this album, really, I feel like more than any album since maybe Polka Party, feels like an album out of obligation. Like that somebody was like, Al, it has been almost 4 years since your last record. You have to put out something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to have
every
a lot.
parody is uninspired. Almost every parody feels uninspired.
I
on
agree.
This record.
And I'm going to have a lot of praise to heap on some of these originals, including next week's episode. I'm going to have wonderful things to say. But this, to me, I mean, I understand. I said at the top how when I heard this as a 16-year-old, I just was like, I don't need to do a deep dive on this Weird Al record because this doesn't feel like it's right for me at the time. And now listening back to it all these years later, I get why I felt that way. I don't feel like that was me being a cynical 16-year-old, even though I was. I feel like that was a justified reaction to this song at this moment in time.
At Patron, we craft our tequila using high-quality natural ingredients without additives. No sweeteners, no extracts, no secrets. In fact, Patron's secret ingredient is that we have no secret ingredients. Just 100% additive-free tequila, made with 100% Weber Blue Agave, water, and thyme. Patron, 100% additive-free tequila. Visit patrontequila.com to learn more. The perfect way to enjoy Patron is responsibly. Copyright 2025, imported by Patron Spirits Company, Coral Gables, Florida. Tequila 40% ABV.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hi, friends. The world got you down. Don't be sad. Listen to $2 Late Fee with Zach and Dustin.
$2 Late Fee is the podcast that celebrates the best decade of entertainment, the 1980s. We pick a movie and soundtrack from our youth that we loved and see if it holds up today. We also interview your favorite celebrities from that era.
All in the spirit of positivity and togetherness. Check us out at $2latefee.com.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room here.
Yes.
There was no music video made for this.
Correct.
There was no music video made because Eminem basically objected to them doing a video. And I have a couple quotes here, but Al talks about it at one point, and he said that Eminem was wary that the parody might detract from his legacy and somehow make people take him less seriously as an important hip-hop artist. Al was upset that the video was not getting made, as he felt, and this is a direct quote from Al, that it probably could have been the best video he had ever done. Yankovic revealed that the video would have taken on the form of a patchwork quilt montage spoofing the most famous scenes from every Eminem video. Obviously, Al mocked the situation in his Al TV from 2003, using footage from previous Eminem interviews on MTV News.
Yeah.
And I do love this quote. So there is a quote from Eminem about the situation as well that's worth looking at. And Eminem said, "I believe in artistic expression. So you think, for example, if someone wanted to do it like a parody of someone else's videos, they should be able to artistically express themselves to do it." I'm quoting the mistake. That's the stuff from MTV News.
That's from the Al TV interview.
That's from the Al TV News interview. So Eminem discussed this whole situation in his book, The Way I Am.
Oh, interesting.
And this is the quote he said. "I got to admit it, Weird Al got me. He made a video, he did a fake interview with me, he spliced it with clips from old interviews, and he put it up on the internet because he is a very funny motherfucker. When something like that happens, you have to sit back and just say, man, he got me. It's something you pick up from doing too many battles. You have to learn to be a good sport about a lot of stuff, and if you want to dish it out, you got to be able to take it back." My question about all of this is, like, I see Eminem's side of things, right? Like, we have heard that there are artists who were super excited for Al to do a parody and then were, to put it plainly, mildly underwhelmed by what the result was. The most famous one being Flea being very open about that in, like, interviews and stuff like that.
And Al's previous Flintstones reference.
In the previous Flintstones reference. I can see the world where Eminem heard this particular parody and was just like was hoping that this was going to be an Amish paradise and that it wasn't, and kind of being like, I don't want this out there. Do we think, however, is it possible that the video could have been so good that it, like, wipes away some of the criticism with rose-tinted glasses of how much we liked the video to the song? Do you think that could have ever happened?
I think it's possible. I think it could have... I mean, not completely, obviously, but I do think that a really great video to accompany this might have helped. Al might have been able to add jokes and have things land better than it does in this track. Because I
certainly would have helped the sales, because this album is right there with Polka Party and UHF as one of his worst selling albums in his career.
Oh, yeah. No, it did not. And again, amazing. It won the Grammy, but it did not do very well commercially. And I think Al is absolutely right to be mad at Eminem. I think, we're going to talk about that Al TV when we get to it. Like, I think that Al's skewering of Eminem in that interview is the best thing he ever did on an Al TV. It is incredibly biting for Al. And you can see, like, we talked about Al's taking shots at Prince. The way he takes down Eminem for this and the way he mocks, like, just really takes him to task. Because you know what? Al is absolutely right. Eminem built a lot of his career on not parody in the same way that Al does it, but in mocking and openly ridiculing other artists. Like, Eminem parodied other acts in his videos.
Eminem parodied Michael Jackson's hair getting caught on fire on a music.
He had
video.
Pamela Anderson and all of these, like Christina Aguilera and Fred. He put all these people in his videos, and he was ridiculing these scenes. Like, for him to then turn around and tell Eminem, "I am worried about my legacy because of your video," like, I think that's nonsense. I think that is absolutely nonsense. And I appreciate the fact that Eminem in his biography admitted that he was wrong and took the L, as we say, but because I mean, his insecurity in what world is Weird Al's video going to impact the legacy of Eminem?
Well,
especially at this
element,
point, again, I'm sorry to, like, 3 albums deep, 8 Mile, he's won an Oscar.
Yeah, you're untouchable
for this song.
At this point.
Like, come on. Like, this is like, at this moment in time, Eminem is, this might sound like hyperbole now, but I think it's true. Eminem is at a level that is pretty close to where Michael Jackson was when Al was parodying Michael Jackson at that moment in time. In terms of overall influence and success, like he had nothing to be afraid of.
Every news story was what was going on in Eminem's personal life.
Yes.
There was lawsuits, there was like drama with his daughter, there was drama with his mom, like
his wife, every single thing in his life. He was everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he was selling millions of records, winning every award under the sun. And Eminem comes and does the song, and it's nice that Eminem gave him permission to do the parody. But honestly, I think from Eminem's perspective, to get the permission to do the parody, but then revoke the permission to do this video is like, you might as well have just said no. It probably would have been better overall for Al if Eminem was just like, I don't want you to parody Lose Yourself. It's too important a song to me. You can do another song some point if you want, but Lose Yourself is off limits. And I think Eminem might have actually had a better record if he had parodied some other song for it as his lead single.
Well, and you talk about like the anger that's in that Al TV, and we'll talk about it when we get to that Al TV episode later on. But like, I think that's also Al's anger has to be justified in the sense of this is the most, to use a phrase, this is the most you have taken food out of my kid's mouth
big time
thing that an artist has ever done.
Yeah.
Because by taking away that music video, you've literally taken away Al's only promotional tool to let people know that he has a record out. And instead he has to very quickly shoot this Bob Dylan style parody, which like we'll get there eventually. And that song is brilliant, but that is not a lead single for a Weird Al album.
No, no, it's this is worse than the Coolio thing, because the Coolio thing actually, as much as Al's feelings were hurt and he was worried about the whole thing, that made him money. That was like an actual, like that got attention to the record, the whole thing. This was, you're absolutely right. This was financial ruin in the I mean, ruin maybe is a stretch. I don't know, but it really, really hurt this record big time.
Yeah, because Straight Outta Linwood's 3 year, actually Straight Outta Linwood into this one is about the closest we get to 2 Al albums coming out for the rest of the 2000s.
Yeah.
And I feel like a part of that literally might be, dude, Poodle Hat did not do what we needed it to do. We need to get back in the studio and try something else.
Yep.
Quickly.
Yeah. No, I think I think that's probably true. Yeah, it's a shame because I don't know, maybe that video would have really changed my opinion of the track. Maybe I would have been like, it's an okay song with a great video. That seems most likely is what I would have been saying right now. But it's a shame that we don't get to see that. And I, heaping a lot of praise on Eminem, especially at this moment in time in music, but he definitely, I'm glad he's self-aware about it, but really, really shame on you, Eminem, for not doing this the right way.
We know you're listening.
Yeah, we know you're listening. We know you're a fan of our show. You've been waiting for this episode, and we're calling you out publicly. We're calling you out. Like, this is, I'm starting right now a rap battle. I'm MGK, and I'm starting a rap battle with Eminem, and I think I'm going to win.
We say this jokingly. If the next Eminem record has a sly reference to Wheatus and Weird Al Yankovic in it, I'm gonna be like, God damn, he did hear us.
That would be a dream come true. That would be a dream come true. That would be great.
All right, well, let's rank this. And I think we're both
I mean, do we want
to
go through the lyrics at all on this anymore? Like, is there any other things to talk about? Like, in terms of
there's nothing that jumps out at me that I want to celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've got like the Simon Cowell American Idol stuff. We're referencing the Osbournes, Ali G Show, Celebrity Mole, Anna Nicole Smith.
You know what? There's one part I want to talk about very quickly because I mentioned it briefly in one of our mailbag episodes. Is that he makes the reference to the all-pig Latin edition of the Drew Carey Show.
Yes.
Which I do think is a funny reference because, as we talked about when we discussed the Drew Carey Show, that was like a big thing for the Drew Carey Show were these specialty episodes.
Mm-hmm.
These like, hey, this episode we've hidden 20 mistakes in the background, and if you catch every mistake, send us a list and we'll like give you some free stuff. Or the like live episode or the musical, like they were constantly playing around with format. So the idea of like Drew Carey doing an entire episode spoken in Pig Latin is like an absurdist joke on something that could potentially have happened in a general vibe. Like the idea that they maybe would have done an all Spanish episode with like very artsy, very real. Pig Latin, maybe not likely, but
absolutely. Yeah, no, I do think that's a funny reference. I enjoy the make them watch all that junk till their heads explode just like Scanners. That's a really great nerd culture reference to Cronenberg's Scanners movie. Great piece of horror there. There's a couple of those things that are sort of like mixed in here, along with the very
TiVo
straightforward.
line is awful.
The TV, I mean, it's just I only watched Will and Grace one time, one day, and I wish I hadn't because TiVo now thinks I'm gay. It's just not. That just is not great. And then the other one was the King of Queens jumped the shark the first minute. I can't believe Richard Simmons ain't in it. A Richard Simmons gay joke, which also was now has not aged very well at all. And then some of the other joke, I actually laughed a little bit at the joke about CSI Boise, which I think was supposed to be a joke on how many CSIs, and now I feel like that show has gone so long and there are so many of them that doesn't even strike me as odd. Like, of course, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a CSI Boise.
Well, you know what it is we're talking about it too, even with the gay jokes.
Yeah.
Like, I think to a certain extent, Al is trying to do the thing that Eminem became famous for.
I think
right?
I think you're right about that. I think you're right
but
that
I
he
think
is...
that he's missing the mark every single time that he tries.
Exactly.
Because Eminem had this ability, and there every once in a while someone comes around who has this ability where they can say something so outlandishly offensive. Like I think of like an Anthony Jeselnik comes to mind now. Or a Bill Burr. Like there's a couple comedians like this where they can say something so absolutely shocking. South Park is another great example.
Yeah.
Where even the people who are like when it is said, the people who that particular shocking joke is about are literally split down the middle of like people who are rightfully offended by the joke.
Sure.
And people who also are right in saying, no, this is a joke about people who actually think that way.
Yeah.
And Eminem was like the master of playing that weird neutrality of shock.
Yes.
That like you could write it off as either one. Al is too wholesome to pull it off. So Al trying to do it just comes off mean and not like an homage to Eminem.
It's absolutely true. And it's also like, it's in the context of this song that's just about these random TV shows. And he's like dissing the shows, but then throwing in the gay. It just doesn't land in the same way. You're absolutely right. Like in Eminem's context. And side note, it is like, I think now I'm imagining like a young person today, someone in their like early teens now, like it's go back and listen to the Marshall Mathers LP. And it is unimaginable that those lyrics are now on an album that's considered one of the greatest ever made.
Yeah.
Because it is the number of times, the number of words he uses on that record that are so completely off limits in this day and age is truly astonishing.
To the point that he literally had to do a duet with Elton John almost as a way to say like, I don't mean the things that this character says.
Exactly. Exactly.
It was like, that was like the closest I think I've ever seen Eminem really truly do like a PR move, backtrack to save face a little bit, because it was getting bad. Like it was like there were protests against him for a little bit.
There were. And it was also a really good way to, he was showing certain people that he didn't actually hate anyone the way he might have sounded like he did on these records playing characters. He also so obviously played characters within his songs. But so often those characters felt like it was playing out fantasies. You know, Marshall Mathers LP famously has this song Kim where he is playing a character who is fantasizing about murdering his wife, but this is based on Eminem's actual life story. I mean, there is really incredibly, incredibly dark stuff all over that record. So he was trying to show those people that he's not as bad as he might sound, while also I loved maybe pissing off certain people in the hip-hop community who didn't like the fact that he was doing a duet with a gay guy. This was in the early 2000s, still not,
Oh, calling someone a gay slur in a rap battle.
It was very normal.
Like that was the way you won the battle.
It was very normal. And also at that moment in time,
say it like that.
At that moment in time, publicly saying that you were like weirded out or grossed out by gay culture was a very normal thing to do. If anything, it was abnormal to be a straight man who supported gay culture or who even fraternized in gay or queer culture at all. Like, that was rare for you to be outspoken in favor of it as like a pop culture celebrity.
Yeah, we're in a better place. That's what
We're
trying to
definitely in
say.
a much better place. And the fact that Eminem is still making records and gets through it does speak to his overall values and stuff. But yeah, no, I in the context of an Al song, hearing the gay jokes in there, I think you're absolutely right. I think he was trying to channel some of Eminem's writing style. But it just doesn't come across that way. And yeah, even the only final point to make on the lyrics of this song is that even as he is trying to match Eminem's cadence and intensity in these verses, it's the only one I can think of, even thinking about future songs we're going to talk about. It's the only one I can think of where Al actually can't quite do it. As a rapper, he is not able to fully occupy the space and the writing style and the flow that Eminem is able to get through his songs.
Yeah.
It's just doesn't work. Even when it like on paper technically works and you can see the rhyme structure and syllable matching and stuff, like, yeah, okay, I see what he's doing here, but it just doesn't land. It just doesn't land the way the way that Lose Yourself does.
And that's why, Matt, I'm going to tell you that this is in my bottom 10 easily. I'm putting it above one other rap song about TV.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to say that I put this just above Aisle Thing and just below Achy Breaky Song. So that puts it as let me double check that. It's my 7th least favorite Al parody. The lead single off of his album Poodle Hat, Couch Potato.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to put it even a little lower than that. I'm actually going to put it just below Achy Breaky Song.
Oh, this is your 3rd least favorite.
And just above I Want a New Duck.
Wow.
It just doesn't work for me. And I really did think that when I came back to it, maybe I would have a better feeling about it. And maybe I
actually think I like it less now that I've come back.
Yeah, it just is. It just did not. It's just a shame. I just don't think it was the right choice for him at the time. And I think it feels uninspired, and it feels like an act of obligation for him to parody something that was so enormously popular at the time. I will have much better things to say about a lot of the songs on Poodle Hat, but unfortunately this is not. We're starting
with next week.
Starting with next week. And one final point, because I love to make my final point, Matt Kelly. There is a great video that I found. No music video for Couch Potato, but if you look on YouTube, Al performed this song on Nickelodeon Magazine's 10th anniversary birthday bash concert that they did in the early 2000s. And he is there with his band, and they do Couch Potato. Apparently they had problems with the gay lyrics in this song. He cuts verse 2 entirely. He just does verse 1 and verse 3. Verse 3 does still have a gay reference, and instead of saying the word gay, the whole band goes, "Hey!"
Okay.
But it's worth watching because it's him and the band doing this song. He's dressed up like Eminem. He's got like the beanie on and the hoodie. And it's all of these kids surrounding him while they're performing the song, and they're kind of trying to dance to it, but they're really not good at it. They have piped in audience sound effects, or like not sound effects, but like the sound of the crowd. And the crowd are not singing along. They are just screaming. Yeah. And when I tell you, it sounds like they have piped in the sound of people being like murdered. It is just, Al is doing this song, and it's just the sound of children going like, ah, 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 like just throughout the whole track. It is so funny and weird. And then in the midst of all of that, it's Al performing. It cuts to the crowd of these kids just screaming to nothing. And then they keep intersplicing footage of like the animation of like rocket power characters dancing along with the song. So it keeps cutting to animation clips of characters dancing along to Al with the audio of children screaming and the band doing a shortened, edited version of the track so that Nickelodeon would let them run it. And if that doesn't say everything about how incredibly ill-fated the release of this song was, I feel like that'll show you everything you need to see about just how poorly this all really went for him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Al, to quote a famous rapper of the year, I think it's time that you turn this TV off.
Oh, and I was going to be like, I'm just playing Al. You know we love you. We can choose whatever sign off you want, listeners.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.